Alright y'all, welcome back to another video here on the John Doc YouTube channel. Before we get started in today's video, I do want to let you guys know we got the Ranger giveaway going on right now. I got a brand new hat out. It's absolutely badass, so check it out. Today it's going to be double entry for the first 20. First 20 people that buy this hat. It's this badass No Time Pro Tree hat. You guys can check it out. It's snapback. It's all black. It's got white NTPT right here. The image of it is right here. You know what? Forget it. We'll just do double entry all day. I'm not even put a cap on you guys because I like you guys that much. And everyone's been like commenting like crazy, so I appreciate it. I love to see a good discussion in the comments. You guys earned this. Double entry on this hat all day long. Go and get it. It's the badass No Time Pro Tree hat. We got shirts to match it. We got a bunch of new shirts out there. We got the American flag LS Nasty shirt because the 4th of July is coming up and America is the best, so get that as well. As you guys can see, we got the Ford Powered Vet. You guys can kind of see it right there. It's going to get some BPF love. Oh, we got Phil in the video. What's up, Phil?
What's up, son?
Oh, wow. It's going down tomorrow.
Yeah.
Redemption.
Oh my God.
People are talking shit on the Ranger, and I don't appreciate it. And they're like, man, that thing's a dog. That thing's got hella mile an hour, and it's set up for the street.
Well, we back half 40 mile an hour yesterday in the quarter mile, so.
Oh.
First to third.
Well, hyping your build, why don't you? Oh, going first. Well, I actually went first to 6th when I merged on the highway, so I'm gonna hype my build up too.
You don't even have 6 years.
Exactly. Exactly. Hyping your build up.
I'm not hyping.
It actually takes impressiveness away from the build. Hype it up. What do you got to hype up? You only on 4 pounds? Oh, you only had fucking. You only had 12 pounds in the tires.
We leave on 12 pounds. We got 6 pounds of air in the tire.
Okay.
And we're on 12 pounds.
And what'd you have for breakfast too? Since we're at hyping your build, you ate a brick of lead.
Yeah.
For breakfast. All
So
right.
I could shit a bullet.
All right, so it's going down tomorrow. We're gonna get a roll race. I need redemption because people they're like the Ranger's slow, right? Because it's got no trans brakes. It's got a 320 gear. They're like it's slow, and I'm like I cruise.
You got a 320 gear?
Yes. Yes, it's set up, dude. I cruise at 75 with a non-lockup 400. Tell me that thing's not set up for the street. Like 2,200 RPMs. I could drive this thing from here to Texas.
Tank.
Yeah, pretty much on one tank.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Everyone's talking smack. I'm like, yes, let's talk smack on a 700 horsepower truck.
I did start in first gear and go into second because if it had a shorter gear in it, it would have went to third.
Yeah. Yeah, the starting line ratio was like 2. And our race cars, they're like 8. Or they're like 6, I should say. Things like 2. So we're gonna run it back because I just don't like people talking smack. Everyone talking smack has never been anything more than 200 horsepower.
Probably.
And they're just like, oh, that thing's slow. 700 horsepour truck is gonna snap your neck.
The way the car is
I got a new
now.
employee. I'll see you later, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Fab work's getting done today.
Yeah.
All right, so we got the 9.5 deck nasty powered Corvette up on the lift, and as you guys can see, the chassis on this is absolutely immaculate. I said it in my other video. It's sweet. You really for a Corvette, they don't get much better than this. Still got factory aluminum subframe up front, and then it's got bars everywhere because we like bars just like Rick Ross likes pears.
I eat pears now and shit like that.
We like bars.
Shout out to all the pear.
It's got a nice Fab 9 back here, 4-link setup. It's got some AFCO shocks on it, and we got the Hookbook King of the World back in another video. You brought the Hookbook today?
Yeah, man.
Are you about to put your little spicy Hookbook tune-up in it?
Yeah, we're gonna make it stretch your legs a little bit this time.
All right, so first off, before we get started, it's got travel limiters in the back here. We removed those, and as it sits right now, it probably has another inch and a half of separation. Yeah. Talk to me about originally what you saw, what you see with the bar angles. Explain to some people what you're gonna do, and why you removed the limiters, and what changes you're gonna make to make it work without the limiters.
Well, first thing, I looked at it and when they had the limiters on there because the reason of it hitting the drive shaft hitting here. So what I'm going to do is probably going to take this thing down, see what I can get. I may be able to notch this and plate back in as long as I don't take too much of the material out, and it'll still be fine. I'll put 2 small gussets right here on the sides to strengthen it back up. with a radial car is everybody's seen like we did with the Black Sheep.
So this is your 4-link adjustment. This is what makes it a 4-link.
Adjustments here, you know, they're fairly close here. Big spread in the back. You go by certain percentages on the car. It just depends on what weight the car is, what kind of front end percentage you have, and go from there. And then that's how you can go by your percentage on anti-squat or however you bar, length, whatever you want to set it up at.
So when people see the cars leave, right, and they leave the start line and the ass of it grows, it comes from the configuration and setup they have here. So the bigger spread in the back and the narrower in the front, that gives you a shorter instant center.
Yeah, shorter bar. So what that does is it gives it a lot more bite on the hit.
And then you talk about anti-squat. Anti-squat is what makes it...
Yeah, what makes the car pick up in the back. And the reason they do that is because these cars can't take but so much bite on that tire. I mean, that tire can only handle so much. So what you're doing there is, what this tire can't take, you make the chassis take.
Okay.
So like with the Black Sheep, as you see, as soon as it leaves, it picks up and then it, you know, it separates extremely hard. And that's because we're trying to apply as much power as possible to this tire without knocking the tire off.
Yep.
So what it can't take, it's got to go somewhere. And if it doesn't go to the shocks or to the chassis, then you're going to rattle the tire.
There's a fine line between not enough and too much, and there's so much that goes into it. Like you said, not only like percentage of the car, the weight, the type of shock, and what tire you're running. You'll never see a slick car separate.
No. I mean, you might see one stay neutral. They might kind of separate a little bit on the top side, but no, I mean, you won't see a lot of that. Here, you know, it's a matter, like I said, bar spread, depending on when you get your percentage. You know, you can't say that you're going to get one set percentage on them. Reason being, because if this car, let's say this car is 54% on the front end, I'm not going to run as much anti-squat in it. If it's 50%, then I'm going to run more. You know,
and the anti-squat, that also does help with wheelie control as well, because all the radial stuff, you can't run wheelie bars.
You know me, I can't stand wheelies. I mean, they make good for pictures of that, but they're crap. I'm not going anywhere. So any car that I try to set up, man, I don't want them picking up tires no more than 6 inches.
Okay.
You know, max. So we're going to probably change these out too. I think these springs are a little heavy.
So another big part of the whole recipe back here is the shock, right?
Yes.
So what people don't understand is, and this is what John from Mensa Motorsports told me, is you want your limiting factor of the rear end to be the shock. So what stops that separation is actually the shock. Yeah. Ideally, if you're making a bunch of power, you don't want to top the shock out, but you control how fast it separates by how tight the shock is. Most people think that the shock works like you tighten it up so you can slow down it's squat, but on the radial stuff, you actually slow down how fast it extends by the shock.
Yeah, so it's, when you're here with these, and with these, I think these are like 110s, 120s. A lot of cars now I'm running 80s on them, and the reason being is, so that way I'm letting the shock control the, my little sidekick here. I'm letting the shock control, you know, everything. All I'm doing all I'm having the spring do is hold ride height.
Okay.
So once I go to say 80s, 60s, whatever I decide to put on here, I'll just set this. But another thing is here, when they had it set up for slicks, I'm going to move all this up, move this in. Now I want as much as shaft. I don't want but about 1.5 inches of shaft left in that thing, because I want this car to be able to separate. I want it to have all the travel that it could possibly have, you know, in the setup.
So by putting the shaft at ride height, by putting as much of the shaft, essentially compressing the shock, that gives you more separation. You have more usable separation.
Yeah, because you got to think, with these, you don't need a lot showing it. If you got 1.5 inches, 2 inches, it's fine, because as soon as you snap the button, this car's going to separate. So it's going to go from that 2 inches to 4 to 6. You know, I think Black Sheep, we've got about 6 inches showing. Yeah. 6.5 inches showing by the time you take off. So once you get it other than the track and it settles, it's not, unless you hit some crazy bump, it's not going to bottom the shock out.
Yep. So this is like your shock, I guess, 4-link radial setup 101. We're not going over any numbers, because I'd say those are important to success rate. Like, obviously each car is different, but you have a recipe that you know is a good starting point, which then you can modify.
And like I said, you know, I don't mind sharing this stuff with guys, you know, but
I mean, this.
I don't want to throw a false number out there and say, okay, well, we're shooting for 160% anti-squat, this or that, because it might not work with their setup.
I will say, we get Jason to come and do our chassis setup, and he comes with us to the track. A lot of the chassis stuff, like big adjustments we do here at the shop, I don't think you've ever really had to make a bar change with us yet.
No, fortunately, no bar change. The last time I actually had to make a bar change was at Darlington on a stock suspension Mustang I'd just done, but I actually had the angle set up for a slick.
Okay. And what, he was running on a radial, so you had to change
he
it.
changed it to a radial, and as soon as I made the...
So from the shop to the track, you're about spot on. I know you put rear steer in the Black Sheep because we were having a driving issue. It was driving one way, and then we haven't touched it. We haven't touched it anything bar angle wise or rear steer wise on the Black Sheep since you did it. So give me some. And that's why you are doing our stuff spot on. And you guys can contact Jason. Turn around. Let's give him the shameless plug on the shirt there. Look at that. There's the number. You can call him and get your chassis set up, dialed in. You can do the 4-link. You can do all your fab work, turbo kits, cage work, anything you need. But this thing will sure to be hooking up after you get your hands on it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a nice piece, man. It's an extremely nice car, no doubt. And it was set up for slicks. It's set up exactly for what it was for. Now it's time to...
It's time to put on some drag radials.
It's time to make it stretch its legs out some. So
you guys will see this car. We're going to be testing it at the track. Jason's going to be doing, like I said, a little bit of fab work on it today, making some adjustments. And that's one thing that I don't think a lot of people take into consideration is the drive shaft when you get the car to... I mean, you got to think that whoever's building the car, they build at ride height. You don't expect this thing to be, you know, separating that hard. I've seen a lot of people knock the drive shaft out of cars because they do hit, you know, whether it's a drive shaft loop or some part of the chassis, because they're not used to it separating like that. So that's a good thing. First thing you did, you said, hey, we're going to have to change this. So
yeah, we're going to change that up. And like I said, we're going to do some bar adjustment, scale it out. You know, people don't understand, man. You have a good half a day or so in this trying to get this car squared away if you do it right.
Yep.
So hopefully, if all goes well, we'll make a bar change. I'll scale it, see where we're at, and hopefully I keep to it and I'll make a bar change at the track.
All right. Well, there it is. Guys, if you need any chassis stuff, hit up Jason. I'll link his Instagram right here so you can check him out. But Jason's going to be doing the chassis setup on this, so this car will sure fly. It's getting a little bit of hook book treatment. Everyone gets so salty when we talk about the hook book, but it's a real thing. It is a real thing.
If you understand, you know.